and welcome. We are back to another high school setting, but let's turn it into a prison and not just have a story about characters wanting to escape from prison, but rather a story about characters wanting to stay in prison. Hello everyone, I'm Joe Newin. Welcome to another edition of Newin Anime Review. In this episode, Prison School.
What happens when you get 5 boys and put them in a school with girls only? Simple. The boys try to take a peek at the girls when they're bathing. Obviously, they get caught and thrown into a prison in their school. Naturally, in a prison type setting, the characters would be aiming to escape, but in this case, if they were to attempt to escape and get caught 3 times, they are expelled from high school. And if you were expelled from high school for perving, good luck with your social life. The first half of the story starts off as one of the boys are trying to escape the prison to go on a date, whereas the second half focuses on all the boys trying to stay in the prison. It's interesting how they throw in the idea that the boys love being in prison. Almost at every moment the boys are punched by the girls, they love it. Hence why they love the prison. But the most interesting part of the story is that the boys are going through that phase where they are trying to find themselves, of course trying to find ways to get girls. So it plays the idea of a coming of age story. The pacing of the story is quite rushed. It's a pacing that gives you a lot of information but never lets you sink in all the details beforehand. There's a lot of cliffhangers leaving you wondering how are they going to get out of this situation that they're in. The reason for this is because the dialogue being spoken is quite fast, because they were trying to fit in so many things into such a short anime. It may have been 2 arcs, but that 2 arcs felt rather rushed. Sure, it's ridiculous, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, but at the same time, the story doesn't take itself too seriously. Kiyoshi Fujino is a straight man out of all the boys, and the main protagonist. He's the guy who tries his best to be good, even though deep inside, he's just like any of the other guys, in a perverted way. Over the course of the anime, he tries to get along with his fellow jailbirds and keep them safe from the prison wardens. Unfortunately, he is nothing special of a protagonist, he's just a complete straight man, willing to help his friends, and he is shy around girls, and not completely open. But I guess he is needed because the next few characters are pretty crazy. Takeo Morikuzu, also known as Gakto, is what would you call a mad genius type. He is the one usually coming up with plans to escape prison or get the boys out of trouble. Despite his intelligence, he will go to great lengths when it comes to girls. He is shown to be the most openly perverted out of all the guys. Reiji Andro, or also known as Andre, is the biggest and the strongest out of all the boys. Although usually calm and a gentle person, he is a complete masochist, meaning he loves to be punished by the prison wardens, especially the vice president. He's shown to care for his friends over himself, although this could also imply that he just wants to get punished more because of his masochist side. Joji Nezu is always seen wearing a hoodie over himself, no matter what outfit he wears. He is probably the biggest oddball of the group, with interests for other things outside of the others, such as his love for ants. Not only that, he has a chronic cough, which he coughs blood. Despite him struggling with his speech, he's got the most gut when it comes to calling out the wardens. Shingo Wakamoto is the last of the 5 boys. He plays the cool guy of the group, trying to act all cool to everyone else. He also acts the most selfish and becomes a hypocrite later on in the series, besides trying to redeem himself. But it's due to his cool boy act start, he gets quite the development as he learns how to forgive people and help his friends. The prison wardens are Mari Kurihara, Hana Midorikawa, and Meiko Shiraki, and they play as the main villains in prison school. Their goal was to prove the fact that all boys are scum and get them expelled from school. Apart from Shingo, no other character really gets a lot of development. So why is it the characters are likable? Because despite having completely different personalities, the characters get along well with each other, and most of the interactions are actually very entertaining. Actually, the only really small development is when the boys start learning how to trust each other. As at the start they're all just new boys at a new school, so there's that aspect that they learn how to work together to get through things. The art style looks quite mature, as if it's made for a more mature serious audience, as it looks grittier than most other anime. Even though the character designs look like any other anime characters, it's just the fact that you can tell that they're clearly separated from the background. Now the way the fanservice is done is, well, I'm fine with it, but to a certain extent, sometimes it becomes annoying. The genre is considered ecchi after all, so having fanservice is no problem. Censoring is not a problem at all, considering the majority of anime is censored, compared to the manga counterpart. But some of the censoring is just plain annoying. It's annoying for the eyes when every type of censoring is done with a bright shining light out of nowhere. It just makes some scenes very bright. However, that being said, the art and the animation also adds to some of the comedy in Prison School. Some of the faces and expression that the characters pull off is completely over the top and exaggerated funny. And it makes such a good use of the art style because the characters for a brief moment start looking realistic. The soundtrack of Prison School is nothing special. You can barely hear it and they don't really add too much to the scenes. There is maybe some okay rock tracks in there, but there's nothing I would listen to by myself. The opening and ending songs are great and funny, which I think fits very well for this type of genre, and is sung by the cast. But the animation for it is kind of underwhelming. What I do like about the sound is the voice actors, because they have put up a great job making these characters sound very funny, but also somewhat serious at the same time, especially for Gakto.
Although the jokes get stale from time to time and the ecchi can be completely annoying, I cannot deny the fact that I loved watching the show. It's actually legit funny. Some of the jokes are quite clever and the art style just really adds to the creativity of them. Some of it is toilet humor, but if it makes you laugh and it's still funny and entertaining regardless. The story plays out like a typical escape from prison story, but then it flips the script and becomes a one stay in prison story. The character interactions make the show even funnier, and their personalities are so likable as well because they are all so very different. It's really enjoyable because it knows what it is and doesn't try to hide the fact that it's a really over the top show as well. It's an anime that you don't have to take too seriously.
For the story of Prison School, I give it an 8. It may play out like a basic escape from prison story to start off with, but when the story changes itself and becomes a story of wanting to stay in prison, every moment feels like, how are you going to get out this predicament moment? I like how the story is also sort of a find one's identity story as well. The thing holding it back is that it felt rather rushed and it's hard to take everything in completely. For the animation sound, I give it an 8 and a 7. The art style is quite good to look at and it fits its uniqueness and adds a lot to the comedy, whether it's the facial expression or the atmosphere. However, the fan service and censorship can be annoying when all is just bright light shining in your face. The soundtrack is nothing special and the opening and ending themes are good. It's the voice acting that's great because every character is done very well and they all sound very funny, especially Gakto. For the characters, I give it a 7. The biggest reason holding the characters back is the lack of any proper development besides Kiyoshi, Shingo, or Gakto to an extent. No other character shows that much development, especially the wardens. Maybe Hana, but that is more of a reaction. But the character interactions are great and their different personalities really add to the comedy. For my personal enjoyment, I give it a 9. I love watching this show and how the characters were going to escape prison. I love watching how they were going to stay in prison. I love watching how their planning and plans go into action. The comedy makes me laugh and I wish for a second season because I think this end sets up for an interesting story. The ecchi can be quite annoying with the censorship sometimes, but it's not too bad. So for the overall score of Prison School, after rounding it up, I give it an 8 out of 10. It's a funny anime, but sometimes may go too far for some people who can't take a joke. I recommend to people looking for a comedy or prison drama. The comedy will make you laugh, just be wary of something ecchi and it can be annoying.
Well, that's it for another edition of Newin Anime Review. Like always, you want to read the written review? Link is down below. Just going straight to my animes. And enjoy the video. Please, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. If you can't be bothered, go watch another video. With that all said and done, cuff me. I want to go to prison. But first, sayonara!